working on today is actually an old cupboard door I picked up from a salvage yard. And I've base coated it in a bright, fun color, which will be muted down with some of the layers that I'll be adding throughout the process. But what I want to create is a functional art piece. So this will be an artistic finish, something that could be hung on the wall, but I'll probably add several hooks to it so that it's useful too. So be thinking of how you might use this layered art finish, a piece of furniture that needs added texture and more of a design element. You don't necessarily have to use all of the steps. The layered look really adds some complexity and interest, but each layer on its own is beautiful as well. So I hope you're able to get some good insight and techniques and information from this video. Feel free to email me with questions, send me pictures of your completed projects. I'd love to see them. Thank you. So today I'm using the Floral Scroll Stencil from Artisan Enhancements. It's one of my very favorite stencils. I use it a ton. If you look over my projects, you'll see it on dresser fronts and tabletops and all kinds of decorative pieces. Sometimes I use just a little bit of it, and sometimes I continue it as a sort of pattern, which is what I'm going to do today. I'm starting on one end of this cupboard door, and I'm using Artisan Enhancements Fine Stone, which is a plaster product with an aggregate texture. I'm just applying it over top of the stencil using my color shaper, which is a tool you've probably seen me use before. It has a rubbery tip on it and really is the key to getting a good raised stencil relief. So I'm just going to get a fairly thin application of fine stone over my stencil here, and as you see, I'm not using the whole stencil on this end. I want this pattern to look very fluid and organic, so I'm not going to be real precise and put the stencil straight on. I'm going to kind of turn it and go every which way. So here's my first relief, and I'm going to allow this to dry, and then I'll come back and add some more. Now see, I have a few copies of this stencil because it's my favorite, and you can see this one I have cut. At some point or another I needed to chop the stencil up to make it work for a project, so it's kind of handy because here I'm not overlapping on wet product. But as I go along, I'm just going to continue this kind of random pattern with this stencil and flip it around and go every which way. I'll use my hair dryer here and there to speed up the dry time so I can continue and not have to wait too long to keep working on my pattern. So the next step is Artisan Enhancements Crackle Text. This is a product that I love to layer. It creates a fabulous chippy paint effect that everybody just loves. It's also great for creating just a layered crackle finish. So it's very versatile. There's a lot you can do with it. Today I'm just going to use it to get that chippy effect and add some more texture to my piece. So right now I'm just stippling it on with my large round brush from Artisan Enhancements. I could brush it on in one direction for a very different look. But I kind of prefer the stippled effect. I think that it gives it the most natural, organic, chippy look. So I'm just going to keep stippling all over this piece, and then I'm going to step away and let it dry and come back with paint. Okay, so my crackle text is completely dry, and now it's time to apply a layer of paint. And I'm going to try not to overwork my paint application too much, which is hard for me because I have a tendency to go back and forth. But it seems to work best if I load up a lot of paint onto my brush and try to get good coverage with just one or two passes over the finish. So I'm just going to apply one quick layer of paint over this whole piece. Now if I were working on a piece of furniture, I would definitely want to work in sections because the paint will start to dry and activate the crackle text pretty quickly. And with this chip off effect I'm going to do, I don't want the paint to dry completely. So hang tight. I'm just going to let this sit for just a moment, and then I'm going to grab my sponge and get to work on that chip off effect. So once again, I'm not going to let the layer of paint dry completely, and just gave it a few minutes to start to reactivate the crackle text. And I've grabbed my sea sponge and got it wet, and I'm just pushing down pretty hard and twist and lift off that layer of paint. And what it's leaving me with is this textured, rustic, little bits of paint and texture on my piece. So I like to kind of focus on the design and pulling away the paint from around my raised stencil relief. That way I'm revealing the stenciled relief that had kind of gotten covered up, but adding this chippy paint look to it. So this is fun. It takes some time. Try not to rush it. If you're working on a big piece of furniture, you probably want to apply your paint in sections so that you're not in a hurry to get the layer of paint off before it dries. So I think this board is about as big of a piece as I would do at a time. I kind of have to start working a little bit faster so that I can get to the other end before the paint dries. Okay, time to add some more dimension with BioSavvy stain. Today I'm going to use ebony, which is the black stain, and I'm just going to use it like a glaze over this finish, which is going to accentuate the raised stencil design and add to the aged effect that I'm going for with the chippy paint and all of that. So it's just going to add a little more of a rustic finish. And I've actually used colored waxes, Annie Sloan's dark wax and black wax with this technique before, and it looks beautiful, it works great. The only tricky part is waxing over the fine stone. Can be a bit difficult, especially if you're using like a shop towel, which is typically what I use to wax with. It tends to get shredded and caught up in the texture of the fine stone. So I thought today I would try the BioSavvy stain instead, and I'm really liking how it's working out. So what I'm doing is just brushing it on. I'm being lazy and using a chip brush today, but really the stain washes out of your brushes so easily. I could use any number of my brushes, but a chip brush is just fine for this technique. So I'm brushing it on, and then I'm wiping it back with a baby wipe. And now if you're working with the stain on raw wood, you don't have to wipe it back. It actually penetrates the wood and it makes for a beautiful stain. But as a glaze, I like to wipe it back. Sometimes I'll wipe it back with just a dry lint-free cloth. Today I'm using the baby wipes because again I'm being kind of lazy. So they're fast and easy and I've got an abundance of them. So I just grab one, wipe back until I'm happy with how it looks, and then when that wipe is saturated with stain, I toss it and grab another one. I'm really not too concerned about sealing this piece because I know it's not going to be handled too much and probably will just hang on the wall. But if I were, I would definitely use Artisan Enhancements Clear Top Coat Sealer, which is really the easiest sealer to use over the fine stone raised stencil relief. Also, Clear Finish would be another option if I wanted more of a sheen. And I wanted to share that all of the products I've used today are non-toxic, bio-based, fume-free, easy to use, easy cleanup, really fun. So I hope you give them a try, and I hope that you were able to pick up some tips and tricks and ideas from the different techniques that I shared today.